Good morning, students and everyone. Again, we are back for the subject business environment. I'm Vivek Burda, your faculty coach and mentor for the subject business environment from the Tirthanga Mahabali University, Hyderabad, and welcomes you all for the next topic over here. So far, we have studied and taken up large number of topics, and we have finished almost the major content of our syllabi, in which we have seen about the basic business environment. We have studied about the nature, scope, types of environment, the objectives of the businesses, and many things. We have seen about the environmental analysis, environmental scanning, environmental forecasting in detail. We have studied about the economic environment. We have even studied about the political environment, the government, the political and the government environment. Then we have even studied about the natural environment, the technological environment. Additionally, we have last topic we have covered about the demographic environment. Now, today we are going to start up with the next part, that is the businesses and the society, how the society and the business are connected with each other, and the environment related to the society are being covered over here. So, in this part, the first thing we are going to cover over here is the societal environment. So, in the societal environment, remember we are going to cover up four things: the business and the society, professionalism, business ethics, business culture, technological developments, and the social changes and the summary. So this social, we when we talk about this societal environment, the type of the products to be manufactured and marketed, the marketing strategies to be employed, the way of the businesses should be organized and governed, the value and the norms it should adhere to all, and all influenced by the social structure and the culture of the society. Thus, the social system, on the other hand, is influenced by the way the business functions, the organization of the businesses, and the way the business functions, innovations, transmissions, and the diffusions of the information and new ideas, etc., which may affect the society. Thus, the business activities generally or greatly influence the social attitudes, values, outlook, customs, etc. However, it is very difficult and in some cases almost impossible to change many elements of the social environment in the short run. Hence, the businesses may have to adapt these uncontrollable external environment. Now, the business and the society, the changing concept in the objectives of the businesses. Traditionally, the term business commonly referred to the commercial activities and aimed at making a profit or to the organizations formed to make the profit. Indeed, in the past economic theory, we made a fundamental assumption that the profit maximization was a basic objective in every firm. Whereas the modern outlook, however, is different, and for them, the profit is not only secondary but are moreover many organizations, both private and public, which does not aim at the profit from their business. In short, the definition of the business as a commercial activity to make the profit or an organization's formed to make the profit in a narrow one. Yet to the layman, the business still means industry and commerce. Thus, the old concept of the business confining to the commerce and the private bit has undergone a radical change. Today, business is regarded as a social institution forming an integral part of the social system. As Davis Wallstrom observed, business is a social institution performing a social mission and has broad influence on the people live and work together. As Clackens remarks, it is now recognized that the direction of the business is important to the public and the business performs a social function. Thus, viewed in the broad way, the term business typically refers to the development and processing of the economic values in the society. Normally, we can use the term to apply to the private non-customers enterprise, but the line of the distinction are getting hazy as the businesses and the government overlap their functions in the organization, such as communication satellite corporation and the Tennessee Valley Corporation. In addition, businesses is the term which is applied to the economic commercialization and of the activities of the institutions, having other purposes such as business offices of the opera association. Thus, organizations which do not aim of making the profit, like the Delhi Development Organization, charitable hospitals, or any other institutions, the NGOs, public relation organizations, government departments, which etc., which invest capital, price, and market their product, services, or ideas, manage their human resources, and so on. According to Davis and Bullstorm, our modern view of society is an ecological one. The ecology is concerned with the mutual relation of the human population of or the systems with their environment. It is necessary to take this broad view because the influence and the involvement of the businesses are extensive. Businesses cannot isolate itself from the society. Today, the whole business is a business environment. Thus, Davis pointed out that in taking the ecological view of the business in the system, the relationships with the society, three ideas are significant in addition to the system ideas, and three ideas are basically value, viability, and the public visibility. When we talk about the values, businesses are like social institutions with this certain beliefs, systems, and value for which they stand, and their beliefs and the values are a source of institutional drive. These values derive from the multitude of the sources, such as the mission of the business, or as a social institution, the nation is in which the business is located, the type of the industry in which it is active, and the nature of the employees. These values become guide of the employee decisions in the interface of the business. Second, they become strong motivators for the people in the business. Viability. David and Goldstrom defined viability as a drive to the long grow, establish the potential not yet reached, and to achieve all that a living system is capable for becoming. It is the business is to be a viable, rigorous institution in the society. It must initiate its shared forces in the own environment rather than merely adjusting to the outside forces as a bucket or quicksand does. Every business needs a drive and spirit of all own to make its positive actor on the social stage rather than reactor or the reflector. To expect the businesses to be otherwise, to expect to be otherwise, it is to deny. It is opportunities available to the other institutions the authors have pointed out. Next is public visibility. The term public visibility refers to the extent that the organization activities are known to the person outside the organization. The public visibility is different from the idea of public image. The term public image refers to what the people think about the organization's acts, while the public visibility refers to the extent to which the acts are known. Thus, the importance of the public visibility is that it selects business environment activities to the public examination, discussion, and judgment. There are, if acts are not known, they cannot be judged. In short, according to the modern thinking, businesses is the integral part of the social system. It is a social organ to help accomplish the social goals. Next is professionalization. Professionalization is the growth of the management, education, and the training, which has contributed to the growth of the professionalization, which in turn has contributed to the growing social orientation of business. Thus, the professionalization imparts a certain social responsibility and dignity to the management. A professional is one who possesses systematic knowledge and is a skill to perform certain knowledges, can retain responsible function with authority, who is bound to certain ethics and is useful to his own knowledge and skill. According to Lewis Allen, the professional manager is one who specializes in the work of planning, according to organizing, leading, and controlling in the efforts to others, while those who subscribe to the standards of the practice and codes to the ethnic established by the recognized body. Thus, in this connection, the Peter Drucker observes management is independent of the ownership, rank, and the power. It is objective function and out to be grounded in the responsibility for the performance. Thus, the professional management is a function, a discipline, a task to be done. And the managers are responsible and professionals who practice in this discipline carry out their functions and discharge this task. It is no longer relevant in this over there. Next over here is the Peter Drucker. Further remarks that the professional who have an autonomy, he cannot be controlled, supervised, or directed by the client. He has to be private in that his own knowledge and his judgment, which has to be entrusted in the decision. But it is the foundation of his autonomy, and indeed it is the rational that he sees himself as affected by the public interest. Thus, the professional, in other words, is private in the sense that he is autonomous and not subject to the political or the ideological controls, but he is the public in the sense that the welfare of his client sets limits to his deeds and words. Thus, the professional has enormous responsibilities. He shall not use his knowledge, skills, and authority unscrupulously. He shall not knowingly do harm to his creatures. He is socially bound by the ethics of the person. From what has been stated above, it is clear that the professionalization of the business management means that the business should be managed by men who are formally acquired the specialized knowledge, skills, sales, management. Those who have authority and freedom to take the right decision, those who have ideological bias in the discharge of the functions, and whose decisions and actions are guided by certain ethnic considerations. Through the progress has been made in the direction of the professionalization of the management in India, there are still long way to go, particularly in the field of things over there. Thus, the professionalization makes businesses more efficient, dynamic, and socially responsible, and the growth of the management education in the country and the facilitates abroad to obtain management education and have contributed to the professionalization of the business field. Now, the next topic over here is business ethics. The term business ethics refers to the system of the moral principles and the rules of applied to the business. There should be business ethics meant that the businesses should be conducted accordingly to certain self-recognized moral standards. Businesses, being a social organ, shall not conduct itself in the way detrimental to the interest of the society and the business sector itself. A profession is bound by certain ethic principles and rules of conduct which reflect its responsibility, authority, and dignity. The professionalization of the business management should therefore be reflected in the increasing acceptance of the business ethics. This is, however, no unanimity of the opinion on what continues business ethics in this business or in this connection. Peter Tuckner very appropriately remarked, there neither is a separate ethics or business, not in one needed. For men and women, who do not require exemption from the ordinary rules or the personal behavior because of their work or the job. Now, however, do they cease to be the human beings when appointed vice president, city manager, or the college dean, and they have always been number of people who cheat, steal, lie, bribe, and other take bribes. Thus, the problem is one of the moral values and the moral education of the individuals, of the family, and of the school. So one is inclined to agree that the document that every individual and the organ in the society should abide by the certain moral codes and that there is no separate ethics in the business. However, certain norms and the principles of the conduct have been formally advocated as consulting business ethics. In 1930, Rotary International developed its code of ethics, which is still extensively used. And these four questions are called as the four-way ethical behavior or the ethical issues of the business faces. First, is it truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and friendship? Fourth, will it be benefited to the all concerned? Thus, the most important professional ethics is expressed by the Hippocratic oath of the Greek physician, in which the premium non-pre means non-knowingly do harm. And thus, the dictatum implies that the professional should carefully evaluate his decisions and ensure that his actions will not produce negative effects. Thus, this code rules out all antisocial business practices. Thus, the code premium non-core encompasses more business ethics. We may, however, list the important ethical principles that a business should follow. First, do not deceive or cheat customers by selling substandards of the defective products by under measurement or by any other means. Second, they do not resort on hoardings, black marketing, or profiteering. Third, they do not destroy or distort. Fourth, it ensures the sincerity and accuracy in the advertising, labeling, and packaging. Fifth, it do not tarnish the image of the competitors by the unfair practices. Sixth, it make accurate business records available to all authorized persons. Seventh, it paid taxes and discharged many other obligations promptly. Eighth, they do not cartel the agreements, even informal, to control the production prices, etc., for the common determinants. Ninth, refrain from secret kickbacks or payoffs to the customers, suppliers, administrators, patients, etc. And tenth, it ensures the payment of the fair wages through the fair treatment of the employees. So the role of the trade associations which are voluntary organizations of the business formed to promote their common interest can promote the business ethics in three important ways. First is the education and the persuasion. The trade associations can promote the business ethics by educating the members about the importance of and the need for having business ethics and persuading them to give due regard. Thus, the members should understand what if every person follows the business ethics, every one of them should be benefited. There would be an improvement in the general image of the business community in the eyes. Thus, the code of the ethics, thus the trade associations can formulate the code of the ethics for their members. Such code of ethics should also contain the code of ethics. Code of conduct will not only guide but also regulate the conduct of the business by the members. Next is the moral sanctions. The sanction refers to the ways in which the moral conduct is rewarded or misconduct is punished. Such incentives and the punishment should be expected to promote the business ethics. A trade association may even debar a member for the serious violation of the code conducted. Fear of such punishments might prompt members to refrain from the unfair practices. And on the other hand, public recognitions and the rewards for high moral standard in the business might give positive increment to them to practice business ethics. Next is the business and the culture. The culture, which is very influencing and complex factor, is often a very crucial component of the business environment. An important problem is that the several dimensions of the culture are not necessarily explicit. A company which sets out to do the business in the unfair culture environment may therefore encounter several problems if proper homework is not done. Many multinational businessmen agree that the cultural differences are most significant and the troublesome variables encountered by the multinational companies. The failure of the managers to comprehend fully these disparities has led to the most international business blunders. Meaning of the culture. There are varying definitions of the culture. The culture is the broadcast defined, which refers to the part of the total repertoire of the human actions and is the product which is socially or opposed and genetically. A very popular definition is that the E.B. Taylor culture of the civilization is that the complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, morals, law, custom, and other capabilities, and the habits acquired by the man as a member of the society. Thus, the Kluckhohn has derived culture very simply as a total life way of the people. As Greet Hofstede, a noted Dutch writer and the academic, has nicely put in, culture is the software of the mind, the social programming that runs the way we think, act, and perceive together. In other words, your brain is simply the hardware, it runs on the cultural programming. The implication is that the culture is not innate, it is learned behavior and hence it can be changed. Thus, on the various definitions of the culture, Francis Miller formulates the concept of the culture as follows. It is characteristically human product of the social interaction which provides socially acceptable patterns for meeting the biological and social needs, in cumulative for its laid down from generation to generation in the society given. It is meaningful for the human being because of its symbolic quality, and in it is learned by each profession in course of this development in the particular society. Next, it is therefore a basic determinant of personality, and last, it depends upon for its existence upon the continued society, but it is interdependent, or it is independent also. Culture consists of both materials culture and the non-material culture. The material culture involves the man-made things, that is automobile, television, telephone, etc. And the man-made alternatives are the environment. The non-material culture includes such factors such as language, ideals, beliefs, values, music, etc. Thus, the culture include at least three elements, namely known as knowledge, belief, ideals, and the preferences. The knowledge and the belief. Knowledge and the belief refer to the people's prevailing notions of the reality. They include myths and the metaphysical beliefs as well as the scientific realities. A Rose remarked, one of the features of the culture is in general that it is special sociological interest in the shared quality of a belief system. People who share the given culture tends to become the hostile attitude towards within their midst who cannot or will not accept. Next is the ideals. The ideals refers to the societal norms which define what is expected, customary, right, or proper in the given situation. Norms are enforced by sanctions, that is by rewarding the right behavior and punishing the wrong behavior. Folkways and modes are important aspect of agriculture. Folkways are norms of the proper behavior, that is the power and way to meet the friend, and are informally enforced. But more are the obligatory behavior to the benefit of the group. Next is preferences. Preferences refer to the society's definition of those things in the life which are attractive or unattractive as objects of the desire. Preferences may differ between the culture. Interestingly enough, the judgment of the ideal of the, or the proper does not always correspond to the judgments of all the pleasant and enjoyable. For example, in the point is the temptations not only fall, not proper but desirable. And all the things I really would like to do are immoral, illegal, and fanatic. Thus said by Alexander Hodel. Thus, a culture tends to provide a standard of taste in the specific life of the human activity. The taste is the most liberal sense, which varies generally greatly with the food consumptions, preferences of the different cultures, but there is also taste in the clothing, housing, sexual practices, and the endless variety of the positions and the activities. What is tasteful is one culture may be highly distasteful to another. Thus, the cultural characteristics are very important in the formulation of the pragmatic business strategies. The cost of the irony, customs, tradition, taboos, trades, etc. can be very high. For example, in Italy, the US company has set up the corn processing plant, found that its marketing efforts failed because the Italian thought of corn as a big food. The Nestle company brews variety of instant coffee to satisfy the civilization taste. The term organization of the culture refers to the social structure and the integration of the traits, the complex and the patterns that make up the cultural system. That the cultures are organized or integrated does not mean that every single item of each culture is neatly and precisely integrated with everything else. It means rather than that it is normal for the parts or somewhat organized, and that culture traits receives their significance and meaning out their relation to the rest of the culture. But the social culture, the web of the organized relationship with the individuals and the group that refine their mutual rights and the liabilities together with the traits, complex and the patterns reflect this organization of the culture. The stratification, that is the differentiation based on the criteria such as age, sex, caste, occupation, education, income, and so on, is an important aspect of the social culture and the cultural organization. Each startup is organized or supported by expected to have certain rank or position. Thus, the role of the limitations, etc., in this social setup, it is important to recognize such roles and ranks of effective negotiation. Thus, the organization of the culture is determined to the large extent by major social institutions. According to Mevler and Page, institutions are established forms of the conditions to produce Characteristics of the group activity. The group which performs these standardization actions are called in terms by them as an association. According to Pisans and Pisans, institutions are clusters of the norms organized and established for the pursuit of another group of people or activity of the social group, which are supported by the group knowledge, beliefs, these as by means aspects. But the important common institutions of the modern culture are the economic system, the political and administrative system, the educational system, the religion, family, expressionistic, anesthetic, and recreational institutions. Such institutions have established to meet the society's common need of the biological, sociological, psychological, economic, and political nature, and the system and political nature. Thus, the type and the nature of the institutions reflect the common goals, aspirations, and the way of achieving them. What they the definition and the regulation of the roles, positions, interrelationship, etc. for the individuals and the subgroups and the groups of all the overall organization of the culture. Next is the cultural traits. Cultural traits or complexes and the patterns also help us to understand the organization of the culture. A trait is a unit of observation. It may be it may be the normative behavior like shaking, handing, or saying namaste, or it may be an aircraft like culture objects such as wooden bowl. As Lambi observes, culture traits in the simplest quiet material or the activity pattern followed, and these patterns are the bricks or so to speak, for which is the whole culture of the society constructed. Most traits are related to others and fit into the larger meaningful wholes called trait complexes. For example, the various traits involved in greeting and receiving a guest from a trait complex. A complex, thus, is a system of the interrelated traits that function together as a unit, and the number of the complexes in terms come together to form the culture pattern. Thus, the culture pattern is specific and enduring system of the trait complex. Thus, the organization culture may thus be looked upon. The organization culture may be thus looked upon from the point of view of meaningful integration of the different traits into the interrelated complexness and the complexes in terms of the pattern. Thus, the term culture pattern is sometimes used to designate the overall culture in the organization of the culture, but sometimes it is used to refer to the major segmentation of the culture, like the religious pattern of the particular ethnic group. Thus, the culture traits, complexes, and the patterns differ from community to community. This indicates some of the complexities involved in the multicultural businesses. And the cultural adaptation, the term cultural adaptation refers to the manners in which the social system or an individual fits into this physical and the social environment. This social system may be the small group such as family or a large collectively such as organization or the even total society like the tribal society. Adaptation is essential for the survival and the type of the clothing, fooding and dwelling suitable for the climate and the weather conditions are favorable are the forms of the adaptations. Thus, the cultural adaptations can be viewed in a very wide context. We have adapted to the energy crisis caused by the oil price hikes by modifying our energy policies and intensifying the oil explorations. Thus, developing alternative sources of energy and restricting the oil consumptions, humanity adapt to the continuous disease by immunization. Adaptation is relevant at individual level as well. The individual who joins or accepts the new religion has to adapt himself to the belief and way of the religion. The worker who becomes the member of a trade union has to fit into the objective rules and way of the union. A woman who lives with her husband family would have to fit in that family culture. An Indian who settles in the US has to adjust to the social and the physical environment there. One who joins the new organization will have to adapt to the new environment. Thus, the message for the business is that the firm and its people will have to adapt to the environment, to the different markets. As Macweller and the Page remarks, every difference of the environment means a difference in our habits, our way to the living. On the other hand, our habits, our way of living, insofar as they differ, create for us a different environment. A different selection within it has a different accommodation for it. Do a process of constant selection and the constant adaptation, the moving equilibrium of the life is maintained. For the successful formulation of the business strategies, for example, while introducing new ideas, techniques, products, while segmenting the market, while formulating the products and promotions, mixed strategies, one should consider the extent to which different categories of the consumers adapt to the new things or environment, and the factors favoring the disfavoring adaptations, and also the general attitude of the society to the new ideas and environment and their impact on the different categories of the consumers. Thus, a cultural shock, the environmental changes sometimes produce the cultural shock, the feeling of the confusion, insecurity, and the anxiety caused by the strangeness of the new environment. For example, if the youngster born and brought up in a large city is posted to a bank office in a remote village, he may experience a cultural shock. Similarly, a villager may experience a cultural shock when he is taken up at a job in a large modern company in a faraway metropolitan city or the foreign nation. And they have, however, to adapt the new culture in due course if they want to survive. Thus, executives and the other employees or on the foreign assignments may experience the cultural shock in an aligned environment. Sometimes this the organization itself may suffer shock. Proper homework to understand the culture may help avoid the shock, and this highlights the importance of the selection of the people for the foreign market. The cultural transmission, a very important character of the culture is transmissive quality. These the elements of the culture are transmitted among the members of the culture from one generation to the next and to the new members admitted to the culture. Some of the aspects of the culture may be transmitted to the another culture. This the transmissive quality of the culture may be cumulative. Every generation inherits the stock of the cultural elements, many of which have accumulated over the long period of time. As time goes on, the culture accumulates more techniques, ideas, policies, and the skills, and it was quite obvious that certain old elements are dropped and the new ideas and the traits are acquired. Many cultural behaviors are handed down by one parents, teachers, and other elders. Thus, the reference groups plays an important role in handing down new traits and ideas. Some cultural imitating or adopting some of the new traits to the youngsters who are trendsetters. Thus, the cultural transmissions is not only downward and upward, a lot of transmissions take place among contemporaries too. Example, style of the dress, recreational fads, reading and learning habits, political, social, and economical views. These are often transmitted among contemporaries. Culture transmission, thus, which take place horizontally as well as vertically. Thus, the cultural transmission take place by means of the symbolic communication. The symbol is any sign, signal, or word that conveys the meaning. Thus, the great importance of the language is the cultural transmission, which is quite clear. Literature, festival, TV, or some other electronic gadgets, social activities, advertising, and the marketing techniques, and so on, play a very important role in the cultural transmission. Transmission also facilitates the cultural diffusion, that is the spread of the cultural elements from one place to another. Thus, the cultural transmission and the diffusions are easy culture with high educational levels and the well organized communication system and the effective communication system and the high educational level facilitates socio-economic change through better cultural transmission and diffusions, and for the new ideas and innovations are easily and quickly transmitted, diffused, or absorbed in such a culture. In the context of the generally low literacy rates in India, the government has realized the importance of the media such as film, TV, radio, or in the transmitting information, such as better agriculture practices and the techniques, smart information, the concepts and the importance of the family planning, and so on. The nature and the process of the cultural transmission and diffusion in the society is important to the business decisions making. For example, to formulate the promotional policy for a product, a service, or an idea, it is important to identify the relevant elements of the transmission to evaluate the relative effectiveness of alternative communication media to identify the groups and the of their influence, to identify the channel of influence or to the reference group and so on. Next is cultural conformity. Individuals in the culture trends either to conform to the cultural norms or to deviate from them. It is if the culture endures as it is, most people would conform to the norms. As Inclase observes, the social order depends on the regular and the adequate fulfillment of the social obligations incurred by the incumbents of the major startup positions in the social system. It follows that the most important process in the society is that which ensures that people do not indeed meet their role obligations. A student who abides by the rules of his school disciplines does his homework promptly and studies properly in conforming to his role obligations. Similarly, an employee who strikes the work for the reasonable cause is response to the strike call of his union and is also conforming to his role as a member of the union. When an individual who has incorporated within himself the knowledge and the appropriate skills necessary to the fulfillment of the role, and when he accepts the value or appropriateness of the actions, sociologist speaks to this having internalized the role as its psychological underpinnings. Such internationalization helps achieve cultural conformity. If a society is by the large characterized by the blind conformity, it would be very difficult to market new revolutionary ideas, which include the products and the techniques. In such a society, special efforts may be required in such a society to change the attitudes of the people in favor of the unconventional ideas. It is also important to understand the extent and the nature of the snowballing effect of the initial deviation in the society. Next is cultural lag. Cultural lag thesis put forward by the William F. of Bergen says that the various parts of the modern culture do not change at the same rate. In that sense, it is the correlation and the interdependence of the parts. A rapid change in this part of our culture requires readjustments through other changes in various correlated parts of that culture. These readjustments are often difficult, if not possible, to make because of the variety of the factors ranging from ignorance to active resistance. Technological changes call for the adaptive changes in the non-material culture, which is inherently conservative. Thus, the cultural lag thus places constraints on the scope of the social changes through technological development. For example, in some culture, social inertia and the religious sentiments come in the way of the population control through variety of techniques are available for their birth control. Thus, the international businesses arena is replete with cases of the cultural lag. It indicates that differently market may be different level of readiness to accept the new product or ideas. To successfully market a new idea, including product services technique. It is necessary to identify the factors causing the lag and to overcome them by taking the appropriate measures. It would be blunder to introduce a product or a market which is not ready to adopt it. Next is cultural traits. See, cultural traits have some important cultures have some important traits. To understand these cultural dimensions with the help in the business. These are first is the low context and high context cultures. Whenever a culture is high context or the low context is very significant in several cases, like that of negotiation. A high context culture is one that places great value to the intangible aspects of the negotiation or the business deals. In valuable forms, such cultures look beyond the fact of the figures and take into the consideration such factors as personal relationships, atmosphere, and the attitude towards the respect, religion, and the trust. A low context culture, on the other hand, assumes the high degree of the shared knowledge on the behalf of the transactional partner and thus deals only in such tangible aspects or the deals as facts, figures, and performance. Thus, the atmosphere and the personal relationship with the business partners means little. In the low context culture, the businesses can be concluded without ever meeting face to face. Masculine versus female feminine cultures, the societies with the so-called masculine values appreciate the aggressiveness and the assertiveness while respecting the goal of the material acquisitions. A masculine culture contrasts with the feminine culture which appreciates the interpersonal relationships put quality of the life before material acquisition, and applaud concerns for the individuals and the less fortunate. As Michel observes, the pace of the business tends to be more pedestrian in the culture with the majority of the feminine traits. Business hinges more on the personal relationships, friends, thus businesses with the friends rather than on pure efficiency and the written contracts. Business people from feminine cultures are often more reserved and less time driven than those of the masculine cultures, where the achievements more in building the long-term relationship. In the masculine culture, success is the function of individual, and society is made up of leaders and followers. Needless to say, understanding the culture trait is essential for formulation of the appropriate strategies and for their effective executions. The monochronic and the polychronic societies. The monochronic is a term that describes how a culture views time. In the monochronic society, time is used for ordering one's life, for settling priorities, and for doing tasks in the sequential orders. And one thing at a time, most of the societies of the developed world are monochronic. In contrast with the polychronic society, which uses time to accomplish the diverse goals simultaneously and to interact with as many individuals as possible, even at the same time. Polychronism is a characteristic of the emerging society. Thus, universalism versus particularism. This is one of the five cultural dimensions identified by the Von Tomkriners, a Dutch researcher. The one or the other follows this. Universalism is the belief that the idea or the practice can be applied as it is universally, in contrast to the particularism, which holds that the environment dictates how ideas should be applied. In culture with the high universalism, the focus is more on the rules than on the relationship. Thus, the business contrasts are adhered to the very closely people which believe that deal is a deal. In culture with high particularism, the focus is on the relationship and the trust, thus on the formal rules. In particularist, the culture legal contrasts often are modified, and as people get to know each other better, they often changes the way in which the deeds are executed. The Trompiers recommend that when individuals from the particularist cultures do business in the universal culture, they should be prepared for the rational professional arguments and least go down to the businesses. Conversely, when individuals from universalist culture to do the business in particularist environment, they should be prepared for the personal meandering of or irrelevances which seems to go nowhere and should not be regarded as a personal get to know attitude, a mere small talk. Thus, the individualism versus communitarism. In individualism, the people regard themselves as individuals, while the communitarism, they regard themselves as part of the group. Countries like United States, Czechoslovakia, and former Soviet Union have high individualism. Mexico and Argentina were earlier found to be the collectivism or the communitaristic by another researcher. Hofstede are characterized by the individualism according to the Trompiers. Interestingly, former communist countries of the Czechoslovakia and Soviet Union now appear to be quite individualistic, while of the course in contrary to the assumption and the conventional wisdom about the former communist bloc. These may be the indications of the cultural change over time. The joining of the NAFTA and its increasingly global orientation might have brought out about a cultural change in respect of the Mexico. Similarly, such a change could have happened in the former communist countries consequent to the political and the economic changes. One also cannot rule out the methodological factors in respect to the findings. The Trompinas recommend that when people from culture with high individualism deal with those from the communitarism culture, they should have patience for the time taken to consult, and to consult they should aim to build the lasting relationships. When people from the cultures with the high communitarism deal with those from the individualistic cultures, they should be communitaristic dealing with the individualistic, and should realize that the reasons they are dealing with only one negotiator as opposed to the group is that this person is respected by his or her organization and his has its authority and esteem. Thus, neutral versus emotional. A neutral culture is one in which the emotions are held in check, whereas the emotional culture is one in which the emotions should be expressed. Japan and United Kingdom are regarded high neutral cultures. People in these countries will not show their feelings. They act holistically and maintain their composure. People in the emotional cultures often smile a great deal, talk loudly when they are excited, and greet each other high with the great deal of enthusiasm. Mexico, Netherlands, Switzerland are examples of the high emotional cultures. Thus, the Tromblers recommend that when the individuals from the emotional cultures do the business in the neutral cultures, they should put as much as they can on the paper and submit it to the other side. They should realize that lack of the emotions does not mean disinterest or the boredom, but rather than the people from neutral cultures is not likely to show their hand. Conversely, when those from the neutral cultures do business in the emotion cultures, they should not put off the stride when the other side creates scenes or grows animated. And they should try to respond warmly to the emotional affections of the other group. Next is specific versus diffuse. A specific culture is one in which the individuals have a large public space. They readily let others enter and share a small private space and guard closely and share with only close friends and associates. Thus, a diffuse culture is one which both public and the private spaces are similar in size, and individual guards their public space carefully because entry into the public space affords entry into the private space as well. Austria, the United Kingdom, United States, Switzerland, all are specific cultures, while Venezuela, China, and Spain are diffuse cultures. In the specific culture, people are often are invited into the person's open public space. Individual in these cultures often are open and extrovert, and there is a strong separation of the work and the private life. In diffuse culture, people are not quickly invited into the person's open space, public space, because often they are there is a very easy entry into the private space as well. Individuals in these cultures often appear to be indirect and introvert, and the people and work and private life often are closely linked. Thus, the Trompiers recommend that when those from the specific cultures do business in the diffuse culture, they should respect a person's title, age, background, connections, and should not get impatient when persons are being indirect or cautious. Conversely, when the individuals form diffuse cultures to do the business in the specific cultures, they should try to get to the point and be efficient, learn to structure meetings in the judicious way, use of the agendas, and not use their titles or acknowledgement, achievements, or skills that are irrelevant to the issues being discussed. Thus, the achievement and the ascription. An achievement culture is one in which people are accorded status based on how well they perform their function, and ascription culture is one in which the status is attributed based on who or what person is. Our achievement culture gives high status to the high achievers, whereas ascription culture accords status based on the age, gender, or the social connections. The Trompendiers recommend that when the individuals from the achievement cultures do business in the ascription culture, they should make sure that their group has senior and the formal position holders who can impress the other side, and they should respect the status and influence of their counterparts in the other group. Conversely, when individuals from description culture do business in achievement culture, they should make sure that Group has sufficient data, technically its advisors and knowledge people to convince the others that are proficient and the way they should respect the knowledge and information of their counterparts on the other team. Next is religion. See, the different people have their own religion, conventions, beliefs, sentiments, customs, rituals, festivals, etc. The cost of ignoring certain religion aspect could be very high, sometimes even fatal in the business. When an American fast food chain was planning to enter India, one political party stated that it would oppose marketing of the beef product in the country by the multinational in the country where the cow is sacred and is regarded very sacred. Although there were many protests against the slaughter of the cow, beef is consumed by a sizable population, and the number of the beef consumers in India is larger than the total population of many countries. In fact, therefore, look ironic that the foreign firm should encounter this kind of situation. Pork is banned in Muslim countries during the Holy Ramzan. The restaurants are likely owned by the Muslims remain closed during the daytime, following the prescribed religious rituals. Thus, many Christians does not consume non-vegetarian during the Lent, that is 50 days preceding Easter, and during the 24 days preceding Christmas, and on all Fridays. During these periods, the Christians do not conduct marriages and other celebrations like baptism. Hence, the weeks following Christmas and Easter are seasons by such celebrations. However, it is interesting to note that although according to the Bible, Christians are expected to fast on Sundays, that is the Sabbath day, and devote the whole day of, to the God, and not to indulge in any worldly activities. Most of them, rather than eat merely and celebrate this holy day, a Buddhist monk from Thailand studying in Indian University was found to be a regular non-vegetarian and one was asked about how the the disciple of the Lord who preached ahimsa could be a meat eater. His answer was that the Buddhist he was expected not to kill for meat, but if meat was available in the market, he could buy and consume. Religions may influence the attitude towards work and wealth. In the United States, if it is common to hear people talk about the Protestant work ethics, which holds that people should work hard, be industrious, and save their money. This work ethic helped to develop the capitalism in the United States because of the importance it is assigned on saving and to the disinvestment of the capital. However, Americans are not the only people who work hard. In Asian countries where confusion is strong, its attitude is strong, known as Confucian work ethic. In Japan, this is called the Shinto work ethic. An Indian economist has described the growth rate the Indian economy achieved in the earlier 5-year plans as the Hindu growth rate. The religions may also play a role in deciding the weekly holiday, other holidays, and working hours. In several countries, religious festivals times are great. Business times, people buy new clothes, exchange gifts, spend a lot of food, etc. Companies do heavily promotions, including the discounts and other incentive schemes, and may become very common in India. Many religious groups consider certain days of the week or certain periods auspicious for their launching of the new ventures. Other, on the other hand, the certain days and the periods are regarded bad. Interestingly, certain days considered as the auspicious by some community are considered bad by some other. Many people, particularly Hindus, do not commence any auspicious things starting out of any important matter. During Rahu Kala, important matters and have to be done on the commenced at Shubh Muhurat. Many years ago, a foreign bank in Chennai introduced a promotion scheme to attract the new customers. The scheme ran for a month. Although there were many enthusiastic inquiries about the details, when the period of the scheme approached the end, the bank management was disappointed that the number of the new accounts opened as nowhere were satisfactory. It was then the management realized that they chose the wrong period for the promotion. The scheme was therefore extended for some more time. The Islamic Holy Book Quran prohibits payment acceptance of the interest. Interest is considered riba or usury. Islamic banks do not pay regular predetermined interest to the depositors, nor do they charge predetermined interest rates to the borrowers. Rather, the banks take share of the profits or loss, which are again shared with depositors. Whatever make profit sharing, unlike interest permissible in Islam is that only the profit sharing ratios, not the rate of the return itself, is predetermined. Thus, the Islamic banks now handle more assets to the huge value worldwide, and the asset growths at the Islamic banking institutions are now growing fast. Even some large Western banks now have Islamic branches. Muslims in the other countries, however, do banking in the normal system prevailing there. Many business decisions in India and in several other countries are based on the astrological advices and the would be deciding decisions regarding the time of launch, introduction, price, location of the enterprise, name of the firm, brand, portfolio, etc. Thus, the only forecasting technique used some people depends upon is astrological. The custom of the marriages, naming ceremony of the child, or the festivals, etc., vary significantly between the regions. There are implications for many types of businesses like textile, jewelry, catering, consumers, durables, etc. Thus, the influence of the religion on the politics and is on to the increase in many parts of the world, and the politics often play an important role in shaping the policies and the business regulations and the promotion. In the number of countries, the religion and the government are inseparably united. Next is ethno-domination. In many countries, one or more industry of the trade is dominated by a certain ethnic group. This is particularly true for the trade. The ethno-domination is distribution is defined as a situation where an ethnic group occupies the majority position in the channel of the distribution with respect to the ownership and control of the physical and the financial resources or through the manipulation of the social environment. Thus, the control is manipulated through the familiar, coercive, and the collusive practices such as price setting in both products and the factors markets, exclusive dealing arrangements, and discrimination among the customers or the suppliers. It is pointed out that the common models is a ethnic group, often a stranger or sojourner minorities selecting or happening into the trade opportunity in a particular community. Members of the ethnic group then masters the interests of supply and demand in the world market for that commodity while learning in the mechanics of the foreign trade in host country. Then, through time, they become established and widely recognized as the reliable buyers or sellers of the commodity. And from this solid base, dominance is then established. In many cases, the ethno-domination, it would be beneficial for the international marketer to opt rather than compete with the dominant ethnic group. There are a number of cases of the ethno-domination in India. For example, the automobile spare parts businesses is dominated by six. There's domination of other communities in the wholesale trade in several parts. In several parts of the countries, there are dominance of some other communities in banking and money lending, the like the Kshatriyas in Tamil Nadu and the Vyas in Karnataka or other places. Regional patterns for the entrepreneurship, which also have some ethnic aspects, can also be observed. For example, the South Kannada district in Karnataka boasts several commercial banks and the NBFIs like Syndicate Bank, Canara Bank, Vijay Bank, Corporation Bank, ICDs, etc. Similarly, Trichy in Kerala is a home of some banks. The South Indian Bank, Catholic, Syria Bank, Lord Krishna Bank, and the NBFCs. The religion is very active in this stock business too. Most Kerala-based large banks are promoted predominantly by the Christians. When they was moved to take over the Catholic Syrian banks by an NRIs, there was opposition from the section of the community, while some of the major stakeholders from some community favored the takeover move. Thus, the takeover of the Tamil Nadu Mercantile Bank antagonized the Nadar community, and there was even political pressure to raise the control back to the community. And the most Indian banks and the NBFCs have the ethnic background. Many ethnic businesses can go international. For example, Punjabi restaurants, Udupi restaurant, Chinese restaurant, etc. are popular in the foreign countries. Several exporters target ethnic cuisine abroad in the case of the Indian curry powder, pickles, etc. Next is the language. Difference in the languages is a very important problem area in the businesses. Switzerland, for example, is a country where three purely distinct cultures divided between the French, Italian, and the German speak Swiss, and the regional differences are profound. In South America, there are more than 40 languages. The African continent has the largest number of languages spoken. Zaire alone has more than 200 languages. Kenya has about 40 ethnic groups, each with its own language and culture. Some 750 languages, each distinct and mutually unintelligible, are spoken in Papua New Guinea over there. Thus, the Indians are numerous languages and their dialects besides the 18 officially recognized languages of the 1652 mother languages listed by the Census of India. 33 are spoken by the people numbering a lakh or more. Even some of the same words of the languages have different meaning or contaminations in the different places. Thus, the meaning of some of the English words and the idioms differ between UK and US. For example, the Britain, the statement the project went a bomb would mean that it was a great success. But in US, the project was a bomb means it was a massive failure. In Spanish speaking Latin America, the language vocabulary varies widely. For example, while the tambo means roadside in several countries like Colombia or dairy farm, some countries like Argentina and Chile, it stands for brothel. The differences between the American and the British spellings are well known. The Parker Pen Company has also surfaced similar problems for the multiple meanings in Latin America, where it hoped to use bola to describe the ballpoint pen, while in some other countries it conveys the intended meaning ball pen. In different countries, it means lie or fabrication revolution, and yet it represents the obscenity. The problems occurred by the languages include inter alia, those related to the brand names and others' names and marketing communication. For example, Ford's third world truck brand name Fiera means ugly old woman in Spanish. Ford again met with a roadblock in respect to its top of the line product clientele in Mexico, where the clientele is a slang for the street walker. Hughes seems to be a good brand name for the toothpaste, but in French-speaking countries, Q is the crude slang expressions for the dairies. Chevrolet's brand name Nova in Spanish means it doesn't go. The name proposed for the new facial cream that was to be introduced in India was Johnny, which in Indian language stands for the most innate part of the female body. The Reebok unveiled the Indian women's sneakers name Incubus, not knowing that the medieval flockers Incubus was a demon who ravished women in their sleep. Reebok was forced to discontinue with his brand. Thus, the Arabic language is read from right to left, and many Arabian sequences things from to left. The multinational blundered in the Middle East when, in the advertisements of the detergent, pictured soiled clothes on the left, the box of the detergent in the middle, and the clean clothes on the right. In the area of the translation of the advertisement, etc., there are two important problems. The appropriate word is not there in some languages. For example, in many countries, the word aftertaste does not exist, necessitating the use of several words or one more sentences to convey the meaning. The second problem is that the literal translation, many a time it does not convey the right meaning. Sometimes they convey the quite different meanings. In Japanese, General Motors body by finishers translates a corpse by finishers. In Japanese, again 3M slogan stick by crazy translates as sticky finish. In some languages, Pepsi Coca-Cola slogan come alive translates as come out of the grave. Non-verbal communications creates equally, perhaps more, even more difficult problems. Body language have different interpretations in different cultures. The same symbols and same gestures may mean different things in different countries and different sometimes in the different regions of the same country. A symbol of the gesture that represents an appreciation in one society may mean quite a different thing in another. For example, the thumbs up sign with the thumbs up held straight up and four finger capped folded represents the approval in the countries like US, UK, Russia. It is highly offensive in Iran and regarded rude in Australia. The OK sign with the thumbs and index finger forming a circle and the other three fingers held straight up means everything is great in US and Germany and things are just good, not excellent in Mexico. In most of the Europe and Argentina, it means an absolute zero and worthless. It is regarded as a vulgar gesture in countries such as Spain, Russia, Brazil, Uruguay. In Japan, it symbolizes the money, mostly coins. In Tanzania, it conveys threat of the bodily harm. A backward victory symbol in is an insulting gesture in Europe, shaking head left to right while conveys no in the United States and most of the world it means yes in and it means yes in some countries like Bulgaria, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, and the pat on the shoulder is offensive in Thailand, while it contains encouragement sympathy in several countries. The next important part is the culture and the organizational behavior. The cultural impact on the international management is reflected by the several basic beliefs and the behaviors. Given below are some specific examples where the culture of the society can directly affect the management approaches and the organizational behavior, highlighted by the Hoggett's and the Dithans. And thus the centralized and the decentralized. The first is centralized and the decentralized decision making. In some societies, all important organizational decisions are made by the top managers. In others, these decisions are diffused throughout the enterprise, and the middle and the lower level managers actively participate in and make the key decisions. The safety and risk. In some societies, the organizational decision makers are risk adverse and have difficulty while with the conditions of uncertainty. In others, the risk taking is encouraged and the decision making under the uncertainty is common. Individual vs the group reward. In some countries, the persons who do outstanding work are given individual reward in the form of bonuses and commissions. In other cultures, the norms require group rewards and the individual rewards are frowned on. Informal vs formal procedures. In some societies, much is accomplished through the informal means. In other, formal procedures are set forth and followed rigidly. High versus low organizational loyalty. In some societies, people identify very strong with their organization or the employer. In other, people identify with their occupational group, such as engineer or the mechanic. The cooperation versus competition. Some societies encourage cooperation between their people, others encourage competition between their people. Short-term versus long-term horizon. Some nations focus most heavily on the short-term horizons, such as short-range goals or the profit and the efficiency. Others are more interested in the long-term range goals, such as market share, technological development, etc. The stability versus innovation. The culture of some countries encourages stability and the resistance to the change. The culture of others put high value on the innovation and the change. Next is the socio-cultural factors. As indicated in the preceding section, the social and the cultural environment encompassing the religious aspect is languages, customs, traditions, and the beliefs, taste, and the preferences. The social stratification, social institutions, buying and the consumption habits, etc. All are very important factors for the businesses. One of the most important reasons for the failure of the number of the companies in the foreign markets is their failure to understand the cultural environment of these markets and to suitably formulate their business strategies. This section will take a look of the certain social factors which are relevant to the business. Some of these would have been overlapping with those described by the preceding sections. Thus, the consumer preferences versus habits and beliefs. What is likely by the people of one culture may not be liked by those of some other culture. Significant differences in the taste and the preferences may exist even within the same country, particularly when the country is vast, populous, multicultural, like India, for example. While Nescafe has about 3/4 share of the Mumbai market, it shares the very small in Bangalore and insignificant in Chennai. Brew, which takes a large chunk of the Madras and the Bangalore market, has a very low market in the Bombay. It may be relevant to recall that while Nescafe at present posters projects an international cosmopolitan image of the product, the Brew advertisement as its backdrop the South Indian, particularly the Tamil Nadu culture. For businesses to be successful, it is the strategy which should be one that is appropriate to the socio-cultural environment. That the marketing mix will have to be so designed as best to suit the economic characteristics of the market. Bicycles, for example, are mostly a basic means of transportation in many developing countries, whereas several developed countries they are usually largely for exercising. The sporting Honda found that in North America, where motorcycles are usually primarily for leisure and sports, consumers look for high gross output and the speed. Low cost ease of maintenance are scoring points in Southeast Asia, while motorcycles are the basic means of transportation. The low speed torque is preferred to either high speed or ease of maintenance by the shepherd of Australia, who use it to drive the sheep. Even when the product serves the same purpose, the relative importance of the various products attributes may differ between the market. Goodyear, for example, this stresses tire safety in the Britain, durability and the mileage in the United States, and agile performances in Germany. Eating habits, consumer preferences, and their resultant demand patterns vary greatly from one market to another. For example, the certain seafood species which are in great demand in some markets may be non-existent in certain markets. Even when some species is widely used in different markets, product forms and the product attributes demanded may vary significantly. Further, within the market, there may be different segments on the basis of the demand patterns for the same species. Again, consumer preferences may change over the time. Although shrimp is in the great demand in number of markets, the product requirements vary considerably among the markets and from one segment to another. Headless shrimps are sold primarily in Europe, but there is no market for this in other certain countries like Spain. In Spain, the consumer prefer whole shrimps with heads and shells or on for the use as appetizers and ingredients and in dishes or as the main course. In most cases, the Spanish consumers peels the shrimps while eating it. In France, there is similar through less marked preferences for the whole unpeeled shrimps. In US, on the other hand, whole head or the shrimps are virtually never served. A great proportion of the demand is for the bread shrimps. In Japan, the shrimps are eaten in different ways. Headless shrimps accounting for the bulk of the demand. The small but high priced market for the whole shrimps, including legs, one also exists. There is a considerable difference between the product attributes in America and Japan, both two major importers of the seafood. In US market, the correct value and the bacteriological factors are more important than the eye appeal. Then the eye appeal, color, uniformity of the size and the arrangements for the shrimp that which were very important in Japan. This aspect of the behavior of the Japanese consumer is true the other water species and the food items in general. For example, the brighter the color of the tuna meat, higher the tuna is priced. Japanese begin to eat red colored sea bream for celebration as red was considered as a color of the good luck. Accordingly, the sea bream, which is faded red color in the low in product value and is used only for the slices. Thus, the Japanese also placed a great importance on how the fish looks on the dinner table so that the fish with the scars on the skin or the missing fins has low product value. Further, there is size preferences for many species. In case of the tuna, the Japanese buyers prefer those weighing at least 50 kg. Served on the many Christmas, the sea beans should not be too big or too small, optimally around 300 grams. It is pointed out that there is difference in the attitude towards the packaging between the American and Japanese market. Much better quality of packaging is needed in Japan. The US consumer sees the pack as means of getting the product home, which does not want to pay extra for the packaging, at least for the staple items. But the Japanese consumer wants the presentation to be the quality one both before after getting the packaging package is open. There are numerous of other differences in the consumer behavior in respect of the seafood between the different markets. For detail, see Francis' book. Nature of use, presence of use, or vary between the market. Coca-Cola drinks are taken with the snacks in North America, just as a coffee or tea in India. They are promoted as thirst quencher in India and several other countries. In US, orange juice may be promoted as a breakfast drink, but the strategy will have to be different in other countries, where the fruit juices is not taken with the breakfast. People in the several countries use talc powder after bathing, but Japanese feel that it would make them dirty again. Any time is coffee time for many people in India. Coffee may be taken early in the morning. But coffee with the breakfast or with tiffin or snacks in the evening or any other time. It is considered a common man's refreshing beverage and it is also commonly served to the guest. In most European and the Middle East culture, the coffee is served after dessert, and in the case of the Europe, after the cheese course, which concludes the meal. In Japan, however, coffee is considered as a luxurious drink. There is indeed widespread of the consumption rates in Sweden, and the annual per capita consumption of the coffee is 18 pounds compared to half a gram in Japan, and habits and the related factors in respect of the coffee. Thus, the values and the beliefs associated with the color vary significantly between different cultures. Blue, considered feminine and warm in the Holland, is regarded as a masculine or cold in Sweden. Green is a favorite color in the Muslim world, but in Malaysia it is associated with illness. White indicates the death and mourning in China and Korea, but in some countries it expresses happiness and the color is for the bridal dress. Red is popular color in the communist countries, but many African countries have a national distaste for the red color. Just before launching an elaborate outdoor ad camping in one foreign market, Singer discovered that it would be doing a big blunder because of the background color it used. Because the blue represented death in that country. In Thailand, the Helen tourists switched to the black shampoo because Thai women felt that it could make the hair look rosier. Just as the color, just as the color, various flowers or the colors of the flowers used have different connotations, including the sorrow and joy in different countries. There are similar difference regarding the values associations with the numbers. Certain numbers are regarded as lucky, while some others are associated with bad or unlucky. 13 is considered as a bad or unlucky number in several countries, including America. Yet the hospital lodges, etc., skip 13 while numbering rooms. Social inertia and the associated factors, some in the way of promoting the certain products, services, ideas. We come across social stigmas in marketing, the family planning ideas used of biogas, etc. for the cooking. Next is the etiquettes. There are there is a great difference in the manners of greeting people, the physical distance between people. While embarrassing hugging or kissing is common in some cultures, they are quite embarrassing and even highly objectionable in many societies. Even laughter is interpreted indifferently around the world. While most countries consider it as an expression of joy, some cultures discourage it. In many West African countries, laughter indicates embarrassment, discomfort, or surprise. Smile, people who are not very familiar does not generate smiles in return everywhere. Sometimes it may cause suspicion. Handshake while greeting and bidding goodbye are common in many societies, but it is not common in many others. Some people dislike it or object it to. Shaking hands with the people of the opposite sex could be avoided in some culture, even if the societies where handshake is quite common, the manners of doing it is quite different. Some cases pretended by the Chinese Martin are reproduced here. Properly responding to the guest invitation treat it is a very important. Knowing well the right response in the different occasions is the crux of the problem. It is observed that even the rejection of cup of coffee can cause many problems. While a very profitable opportunity was being negotiated, the one US executive innocently made a mistake of refusing Saudi Arabia's family's offer to join him for a cup of coffee. Such a rejection is considered an affront in Saudi Arabia. Naturally, the Saudis became much less sociable and the negotiation process was much less successful than it might have been. Gifting or gifts giving has its own place in most cultures. It is indeed customary on many occasions. There are many aspects of gift giving that must be meticulously understood, such as what is an appropriate gift, to whom should it be given, when should it be given, and how it should be given. Failures to take the meticulous care of these factors can sometimes produce negative effects. Sometimes gifts are expected and the failures are to supply them is seen as insulting. Other times, however, is the mere offer to such a token is considered offensive. In many parts of the Latin America, cutlery or the handkerchiefs should not be given because these gifts imply a cutting off to the relationship or the likelihood of the tearful event. And giving a clock to someone in China does not is not a good idea. Either the Chinese word for the clock sounds similar or to their words for the funeral. In fact, even the word in which the gift is presented is important. In most parts of the Asia, gifts should be given privately to avoid embarrassing the Asians, but in the Middle East, they need to be offered publicly in order to reduce the possible impression that bribery is being attempted. Next is the social trends. There are a number of other social and demographic factors such as age and the sex, composition of the population, family size, habitat, attitude towards employment, occupational patterns, etc., which influence the businesses. Thus, the number and the proportion of the women in the workforce have been rising in most of the countries. However, the percentage of the women working outside the household can vary significantly between the nations. The ratio is generally high in the advanced countries in comparison with the developed countries. Birth control has been a contributory factor in raising the portion of the women employees. That's the wife as well as the husband are working means less time and less energy available for the cooking at the home. It is estimated that in US, all the 3 meals a day, one and a half are eaten away from the home and the remainder half are ready prepared. It also means that the families operate differently. It is estimated that the $40 billion is the family funds were spent by the teenagers mostly for the groceries and other household items. This has a lot of implications for the marketers in developing countries, particularly in situations would be different from that in the US. The rise in the number of the double income households increases the demand of the number of products like household appliances, electronic gadgets, packed foods, products, etc. There are also several other demographic trends which have implications for the business strategies formulations. While some of these trends are confined to certain countries, only the strength of the other trends vary greatly between the nations. For example, the number of married couples living together has risen in 2 decades, ended 1990 about half a million to 2.5 million in the US. Such a thing is quite unheard of in the several countries like India. Similarly, the high divorce rates has created over the millions single parent families in the US. Most of the divorced remarry, leading to the emergence of a large number of the blended families. It is not the situation in several countries where people attach more sanity to the marriages so that the marriages last lifelong. In countries where the culture is that the marriage relationship is to last, marriage relationship is to last lifelong, the company may advertise that it is a durable product, will be lifelong companion, like one's life partner, but to use such promotional theme in the culture where the divorce rate is high. And even unmarried partnerships, which normally last for only short periods, is common with and will be a blender. One in the four US homes now consist of two persons living alone compared to about one of the 10 years ago. The Census Bureau estimates that this group was unexpected to continue to expand, growing to 33.7 million households by 2000. Experts say that these donors are more prone to the impulse buying because there is no other household members to disagree with other questions in the purchase. In short, the social environment of different markets differ vastly. Even with the nation, cultural diversity may be very significant. It is essential to understand that these differences to formulate the successful business strategies. Next is the technological developments and the social changes. According to the Engreth in the writing mills, social changes refer to whatever may happen in the course of time of the roles. The institutions or the orders comprising the social structure, their emergence or the growth and the decline. To Morris Ginsburg, the social change means the culture in the, just repeating, technological development and the social change according to the Hengray and the Brit Mills. The social change refers to whatever may happen in the course of the time of the rules. The institutions or the order comprising the social culture, their emergence and the growth and the decline. To the Morris Ginsburg, the social change means the change in the social culture, example, the size of the society, the composition or the balance of its part or the type of the organization. As Weinstein observed, the social change includes a significant alterations in the social culture, in cultural definitions, and in the products of the social cultural actions. Social structures may change in the size, the degree of the formality and the informality, in the type of the social relationship, and in the system of the status and the role. Thus, the cultural change is reflected in changing the knowledge, belief, values, and norms. Material products will change as the result of the advance in science and technology. In short, the social change will cause one or more of the following changes in the society: change in the social institution, change in the occupational pattern, change in the positional status and the role, changes in the value, beliefs, attitude, changes in the social interaction, change in the social mobility, and so on. Technology is one of the important determinants of the social change. There's the rapid change in our society are obviously related to and somehow dependent upon the development of the new techniques, new inventions, new modes of production, new standards of living, which indeed technology is a profound alternate social attitudes and modes of life, attitude, belief, traditions, which once were proved to be the very expression of the essential human nature were crumbled before its advance. Thus, the industrial age has found changed social life and the status of the women. Industrialization destroyed the domestic systems of the productions, brought women from home to the factory and the office, differentiated their task, and distinguish their earnings. There is a new environment and a new social life of women. Thus, the introduction of the new techniques for the dispossessing and preservation of the food and the appliances to perform the kitchen and the other domestic work facilitate the emancipation of the women from the kitchen. The impact of the development in the field of the transport and the communication on the society is very profound, as the automobile and the telephone made suburbanization possible in US and other countries. The film, television, and radio have become very helpful in the transmission and the diffusion of information and in the education of the common man. These media plays important role in bringing out social changes. The television or the radio enables the person to address at one time millions who are geographically widespread. Free radio or the televisions make possible the rapid rise in the new political and social movements. No wonder that in the number of countries these media are monopolized and controlled by the state, which use them for propaganda purposes. These media have brought about the significant changes in the sphere of the family and the individual recreation. Such technologies have considerably reduced the social distances between the urban and rural areas. As the modern industrialization of the technological development has upset the social structure, it has administered a severe blow to the caste system. Socially, mobility has become very ambitious. Society has become more materialistic. Industrialization has also given rise to the class conflicts. The industrial, agrarian, and the transport revolutions have brought about physical improvements to some extent and to the harness and the natural resources better. Air conditioners have made life more comfortable. Huge dams have built to control the floods, generate power, and to irrigate lands. Experiments to produce the artificial rains have shown positive signs of the success. Technological developments have a number of adverse effects on the society. Some of the technology developments have caused serious ecological problems. Population, for example, the film is said to have of having some immoral effects on the society. There is a criticism that many Indian movies encourage crime, rape, alcoholism, and violence. The technology is regarded as one of the factors responsible for the concentration of the economic power in the few hands. Some sociologists are of the opinion that the capitalism is merely a byproduct of the mechanization development in the field of the nuclear science, through they were of great scope of the advancement, poses a serious threat to the very survivals of the human race. But to condemn the technology altogether is to forget that it also saves the lives and makes the desert bloom. And thus hear music in our living rooms. Thus, the preceding pages have given a glimpse of the number of the important elements and aspects of the social system that have implications of the businesses and have indicated several interrelationship between the businesses and society. Indeed, business and society are very intricately intervened, acting and reacting upon each other. Thus, in order to summarize, the business is an integral part of the society and they influence each other. It is now widely recognized that the businesses have certain social objectives besides the economic objectives. Thus, the cultural environment of the nation market may profoundly influence businesses in different ways and dimensions. The attitude of the workers, labor management relations, government, businesses, relations, entrepreneurial nature and the attitude, political philosophies and system, legal environment, business ethics, governance, government policies, etc. could have a social influence on them. The management may undergo a social transformation. For example, the number of families who own small business groups in India have assured this professional management. The need to for good corporate governance is getting more and more recognition. In short, the type of products to be manufactured and marketed, the marketing strategies to be employed, the way businesses should be organized and governed, the value and the norms it should adhere to, and to all are influenced by the social culture and the culture of the society. The taste and the preferences, purposes of the consumption, methods of the consumption, occasion and the consumption quantity of the consumption, value associated with the consumption, etc. for the products may show wide variation between the cultures. It is difficult and is sometimes and in some cases also possible to change many elements of the social environment in the short run. Hence, a business may have to adapt to these uncontrollable external environments. Culture have some important traits, and understanding these cultural dimensions will be necessary for the successful management. The culture of the society can directly affect management approaches for the organizational behavior. Even most national markets are multicultural. Thus, the number of the ethnic groups and the languages in use in many countries is mind-blowing. Such a wide variety culture diversity poses a tremendous challenge to the management. Thus, the cultural differences is one of the most difficult problems in the international businesses. Because of the cultural differences, a promotional strategy that is very effective in one market may utterly fail in another and may even result a social or the legal reprisals. Etiquettes differ from culture to culture. The way of meeting and greeting the people, expression and the appreciation, or the disapproval methods of showing the respect, ways of conducting the meeting, and the functional tables, manners, each, etc., which vary quite widely between the cultures. And what is regarded as the right behavior is one culture which may be offending in some other. Thus, the familiarity with the culture idiosyncrasies is necessary for the success. So, based on this, we can further summarize a social environment. That the social environment of the business includes the social factors like the custom, tradition, beliefs, values, social trends, literacy, life expectancy rate, and so on. Thus, the organizations are at the center of the change which take place in the social environment. Therefore, the organization must be aware of the culture which needs and preferences, purchasing patterns of the consumers. Managers must keep themselves updated regarding the changes which take place in their immediate social environment. It will help them to establish the best advantage for its customers and employees, as the effect of the various social factors on the businesses can be understood by understanding the various components of the societal structure. Thus, the societal structure of the business consists of all the societal beliefs, traditions, customs, practices, behaviors. In short, we can say it is like an artificial world that can be distinguished with the natural environment in which we live. Every society has its own unique, distinguished social environment through some of the customers' traditions, beliefs, beliefs, and the behaviors are similar across various cultures, but not the same. For example, the Indians traveling to Canada may find many similar practices, but not as much if traveling to China. Customs and traditions define social practices that exist in society for the long and decades or centuries. For example, the celebration of Diwali, Eid, Christmas, Guru Purab in India offers huge opportunities for the companies dealing in the greeting cards, sweets, gifts, garments, flowers, and so on. Belief and the value refers to the concept that the society holds in the high system. In India, equality of the opportunity, individual freedom, social justice, and the national integration are examples of the major values appreciated by all of us. In business terms, these values translate into the freedom of choice in the market, business responsibility towards the society, and non-discriminatory employment practices. Thus, the element of the social infrastructure can be summarized again, which includes the attitude of the customers towards the innovation, lifestyle, etc., birth and the death rates, consumption habits, the education and the literacy rates, importance of the place of the women in the workforce, population, quality of the life, tradition, customs, and habits of the people. Thus, the social trends refers to the changes in the social order of the society. The social change may include change in the nature, the social institutions, social behaviors, or the social relations. Thus, the base of the social trends is change in the thought process of the human. These social trends present various opportunities and threats to the business firms. For example, it has been noticed that eating habits and the lifestyle of the Indians have drastically changing. People are becoming health conscious. They have provided a huge opportunity for the food manufacturers to produce organic, less fatty, and balanced food supplements. Besides this, it also offers the immense opportunity for the gyms, particularly clubs, spas, pharmaceutical companies producing health products. This trend has, however, harmed businesses in the other industries like the dairy processing, tobacco, liquor. Similarly, the social trends of having nuclear families has fueled the growth of real estate businesses in most part of the India. The literacy rate is a measure of how much individuals in the country can read and write. High literacy rate is directly related to the economic development. The literacy leads to the rise in number of entrepreneurs. New entrepreneurs provides employment, and employment will increase the purchasing power of the people. This power will lead to the demand of the products and services. Thus, increased demand of the goods and services will prosper business firms. Thus, in short, it is not the literacy rate, but it is all social factors which are directly or indirectly which are affecting the fate of the business firms. So, students, we have studied in detail about the societal environment in which we have studied about the business and society. We have studied their objective. We have studied the importance of the business, professionalization, business ethics. We have covered about the business and the culture in detail. We have discussed about the religion, language, culture, organizational behavior, and other social cultural factors. in detail about the technological development and social change. And lastly, we have summarized, so remember, the elements which impact the societal structure are the attitudes of the customers towards innovation, lifestyle, etc., their birth date, consumption, education, importance, population, quality, tradition, custom, language, religion, demographic, and many, many, many more things. So this is all about this topic. And thank you for being so patient, listener. This side, your faculty and coach, Vivek Burda. You can connect back to me on the email ID vivekb.management@tmu.ac.in for any query. And hopefully, I assume you are able to understand this topic nicely. Thank you. Good wishes. Best of luck. Take care.